Good morning, Breakfast Club family. This is Mark Stevens, your host, Joe Shoup. Top of the morning to you, or I guess I can say in some cases, top of the afternoon. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. Got some great information for you today. Hopefully, I know everybody got their notices, so we're going to get right into it. Joe, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, Mark. I'm fantastic and amazing, heading towards phenomenal.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Somebody asked me that. Actually, it was the manager of our complex here, and that's what I said to them yesterday when Shirley and Rudy were here. So now I'm doing good, man. Everything's good, and I know we've had busy weekends, but it's interesting because we've been talking over the last couple of weeks, and we have a pretty big announcement to make at the end of the call. So hang in there. We should be less than 30 minutes, or at least 30 minutes today. And we want to make sure that you have all the information that we're going to give you. But as you know, we constantly are talking about communication. And what amazes me, Mark, is the amount of people that are not equipped, don't have the right tools. And yet I hear people talking uplines about certain things you need to do and events you need to attend. And, and you hear that, and it's wonderful. And you get notices, and it's fantastic. It really is. And then you get to talk to the people that either attended or is interested or goes to calls and so on. And they are calling out for help. They're crying for help. And it's amazing to me how many people, are just in that position that say, yeah, I see it and I hear what they said, but I don't know what to do. And the bottom line is, what you have to understand is that you must market your business. That means you have to put your information in front of people, whether it's verbally initially or whether it's sending something to them where they can look at something. But it still all comes down to communicating with that person live, in person, and then being able to trust someone that you can take that person to so that they can be interviewed. And the problem is that most of the people are taking people with the hopes that the director, and in some cases the three-way person, is going to convince that person that this is the best thing to do. And of course, you and I don't believe that. So it's very interesting to see how many people are caught up in that. And I went through it pretty much all week last week with people taking the communication class and coming back with interesting comments that, geez, as we've always talked about. So an important element, probably the most important element when they're making that phone call, is recognizing who you are. What is your function during this call that you make when you're connecting with someone? What is your function? What are you trying to achieve? And obviously, it is the first thing you should be thinking about is to be getting that person over to a director to answer questions and to get our questions answered to see if we really have that match. And unfortunately, Mark, most people don't know how to do it. And I know that people that take the class, they certainly know how to do that. And whether they use it or not, I don't know. I mean, I know with our people. But let me say this. Mark Stevens works in this business and likes to communicate with people, likes to talk to people, and he loves to be outside talking to people, meaning visiting people, having maybe a cup of coffee with them, meeting them at their business, and meeting people in new businesses, going into their business and finding out whether we have some kind of match where that person might be interested in what we're doing and what he's doing. He loves that. And I'll tell you something. And I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but Mark is a very, very big part of a company, a director and a state coordinator. I think I'm using the right terms. Am I, Mark? What is the name of that? What is your title with them?
Yes, state director.
State director, yeah, for a company. And, talks, goes to conferences, is asked to go to these conferences. I'm not talking about a meeting where 50 people show up. I'm talking hundreds of people where Mark talks to people. The corporate asks him to go speak. And these are home business people in the home business arena. And he's building a monster business through that with a couple of companies that we belong to together. And some of you are on a call now with one of the companies. Some are from other companies. And the reason that Mark's enthusiastic about it all is because he knows what to do. Clearly knows what to do. So we're sitting here making decisions on how to conduct a business because one of those businesses is getting so busy, it's impossible to keep up sometimes. The truth is, all home businesses need the information we're going to give you today. So, Mark, I don't know if you disappeared on me or not. I don't see you on the screen. But anyway, all these businesses, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you need to understand how to communicate it and how to go get, how to go get a director, a person who can continue with the conversation and find out and see if we have this match. So let's try to share my screen a little bit, Mark, so I can put this up here and see the purpose of, so people can see, the purpose, see the definition of a director. And then we can talk about that a little bit. So let me go over and get that. But anyway, I wanted you to comment a little bit about the purpose of this and what we're doing here and what you're doing with people.
Okay. Joe, what we've been trying to get a lot of people to understand, get a little echo, is the fact that when you're in business, whether it be brick and mortar, whether it be online, it doesn't matter. There are certain things that pertain and it doesn't change. And, just like we say when we talk about marketing is what we do to get our information in front of people. But even in your marketing, terminology and perception has to make sense. So in other words, when you are communicating with a person, whether it be online or offline, the same rules still apply. And what people have been doing in this industry for so long is failing because they didn't have, and they still don't have, the proper communication skills. You can't connect. We talked about being a connector. Are you a connector? Do you know how to connect with people? And if you don't know how to do that, because I can tell you now, just in my financial planning background, people do not like to be sold anything. If people think that you're trying to sell them something for your own financial gain, you're in trouble. But there's a way of doing that and getting that done without giving that perception. And we've been teaching that, we've been talking about that, we're still talking about that, because let me say this. Everybody needs to understand, and Joe, you might have experienced this or might have heard this yourself, but there's something that's bothering me in our Karatbars business. And it's simply this. And the way that you're going to get around that is understanding the director call and the communication class and everything like that. There are people in our Karatbars business that if they have sponsored you and you're one of their partners, if you aren't doing a lot of business, they really don't want to be bothered with you. In other words, they have made it, they are making it. If you're not bringing in all VIPs or this or that or whatever, I have heard it, I have seen it, that's not good. So what it tells me is that if you're not doing a lot of business, then you may have an upline that really don't want to be bothered with you.
Well, it's so true, Mark. So true. We've experienced that in a number of places, and yes, it's in Karatbars, people experience that where they're not going to bother with you if you're not showing numbers. And that's sad. That's a shame because they're not showing numbers because of most of the time. Well over 70% of the people have a complaint that their upline came in and then they disappeared or they're not working the business, and then there's somewhat of help, some help somewhere, but they really don't get the attention they need, and unfortunately those people can't teach them skills anyway. So it's probably even better off if they left them alone and let them come to you and me and people who teach communication to make that work, I guess. I don't know, but you're right. That's exactly what's happening with a number of people. And it annoys me as well.
Yeah. So which makes what we're talking about today and everything, it makes it so much more greater of importance, because this is how you're going to survive in this business. This is how you're going to grow your business, because don't count on somebody else doing it. I'm telling you, don't do that. Remember, what do they call us? We are all independent affiliates, which means we don't work for anybody per se but ourselves. You don't have a boss. That's the reason you got into this business too, is because you didn't want to have a supervisor from hell or a boss or whatever. What you wanted was a partner to help you succeed in this Karatbars business. Now, probably a lot of you, if you're willing to admit it, you probably haven't heard from your upline in weeks and maybe even months after you bought that package, that big package or that mid-level package or whatever. If you're not on every single call twice a day, 7 days a week, or this or that, then I don't want to be bothered with you. I think that's a shame, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to learn how to protect yourself and direct yourself. I'll leave it at that, Joe.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the purpose of the director. So look, this is so important, this part. This part is so important in your business, to be able to count on someone else, because a brand new person gets in and they don't know what to do, except the upline tells them, yeah, go ahead, just call them and then bring them over to me. For what? A 30-minute conversation to try to convince them? No, this is the purpose. The function is to interview the prospect and answer any questions he or she may have at that time. In addition, their job is to direct them to registration to your company. That's the purpose. Ask your upline if they can describe what a director is. See if it comes even close to what we're talking about here. So that's the purpose. You have to know that. So the question is, are you interviewing? When I say you, I mean the director. If it happens to be you because you can't find somebody to do it, are you interviewing that person or are they interviewing you? Because that's key. And anybody that's been through the class understands that. To understand that you should be on the call for, I'm going to say 5 minutes at the absolute most. Somehow, if they keep asking questions, that's fine. You'd be on a little longer. But the answer to those questions should be completely at your fingertips, so you don't have to hesitate. That will enable you to get off in 5 minutes. Are you following a pattern? Are you winging it when you call? And I'll tell you, Mark, the reason people are afraid to make calls in general is because they're winging it. They don't have a pattern. They don't understand the patterns. The reason they're calling them and what they should be doing on that call. So, are they controlling you or are you controlling them? Who's controlling who during this conversation? We're going to give you an example of what it looks like. But who's controlling who? It's okay that your prospect asks a bunch of questions, but you have to know there's a format that you follow that keeps them from taking control, even if they're asking a lot of questions. The person asking the questions has control, of course. But if you don't know how to direct them back to the conversation where you want them to go, which would be either over to the three-way or over to registration, depending on who you are on the call, then you've lost them. If they think you're trying to convince them, you've lost. You're done. And on 98% of in the past, Mark, and I mean, I hear it here from people that talk to me about the class and all that, that their upline is trying to convince people to, about gold and the economy and the world, the financial world's falling in and all that. That's just, when you hear that on a conversation, that's just to inform the person that they should be with you. And that's called convincing. You don't sound strong enough. What people want to hear during that call is, are you someone I want to follow? Are you really someone, that people want to follow? If you're the director in training, pretty easy to follow that, because if you know your job, it's all you've done is asked a few questions and got them to a director. But if you don't know how to do that effectively, it'll take you 15 minutes to get them to a director. And you'll be asking them, do you want to go to a director? One of the worst questions you can ask is, do you want to do that? No, that's how we work. We talk to you. We find out if you had an interest level. Did you look at the information? What is the interest level to move forward here? And then move them over to the director. Not ask them if it's okay if they do it. Sounds like you're begging. But if they hear anything in your voice that's trying to convince them that this company is the best thing for them, and the truth is, it may not be the best thing for them. I mean, we know it's a great company at Karatbars. I mean, some of you are at other businesses. We know you believe in your company, that it's the best company. Well, I mean, we know that. But if they feel that you're trying to convince them that this is the best company by creating and repeating statements about economy and gold and money and so on, you lost them. That's why you lose them. It's why you get frustrated. It all comes down to thinking. Who you are on the call when you make the initial call or initial contact, who you are when you follow up and move them to a director, and that director has to know who they are and know their function. So if I were to call someone and find out what their interest level is, because maybe they filled out some information, we're using some new tools that are finding out real quick the interested party. So when you get on the call and we get on there and find out that they had a pretty high interest level, then the game starts. You're in the ball game now. You've found an interested party. And what it should sound like when you introduce them to the director. First, I just back up a little. When you find out their interest level, how do you find that out? It's not just a question. It's interesting, Mark. I had a call yesterday. I think it might have been Cindy that had someone. I was so proud of her. She spoke with someone. They looked at some information. This is someone local. And looked at some information. And when she was going to do an actual follow-up in person with them, the person didn't really remember anything that they saw. You know what? 99% of the people I know in this business would have met with them anyway. Cindy decided not to. She sent them back to the information and rescheduled. She wasn't going to sit there and convince. I was so happy to hear that. And she's now having success with the people who turned her down prior to this, prior to having the class. Now she knows how to talk to them. I was so happy, Mark, to hear that from her, that she actually knew. And actually, she called me yesterday, and before I talked to her, I said, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. And I asked her a question. I said, this is a person who's calling you back, or you're calling them and you're talking to them, and they jump in and say, are you making any money now? And she rattled off the answer, Mark, like she had been in the business, for 10 years. She's only been with Karatbars for 5 months, I think, maybe less. But she was able to say, sure, not a problem, Frank. As a matter of fact, I've been with the business for 5 months. And right now my job is to, I'm in training right now, and my job is to get you over to a director. Hey, Frank, have you ever had a successful business from home? That's how she handled it. Mark, you'd have been so proud to hear her yesterday. It was not even funny.
That's great.
But, getting that person over to the director. Mark, why don't you take us through that a little bit with, introducing the director. I mean, you don't have to go through the whole script. I'm just saying, the process of going over what that person's supposed to be doing. I know people hear me saying it and you saying it, and generally I rattle this off, but, lots of people like to hear you anyway. So, the person's making the phone call. You're talking to them on the phone, and you want to move them over to the director. I mean, just go ahead and talk to me about that.
Okay, it's very simple. Let's do this for a minute. As we know, the first thing we need to know is the 5 steps of that phone call, and we know that's what: introduction, the reason that you call. Okay, introduction, the reason that you call, what you want them to do, what you would like for them to do, and then you set an appointment, and then you tie that appointment down. Very important 5 steps. So let's say you've gone all through that. Now you've got that person. They've looked at a video or gotten some information, and now you've called them. You've contacted them again, or you made that contact, and now your job is you're a director in training right now. That's what you become. So now what you want to do, you want to get them over to a director. Now Joe has gone through what a director's job is. So Joe, this is Joe. Joe has been in the business for a number of years. He's one of the directors in our company, and he's helping me grow my business. Joe, this is Robin. Robin has looked at the video, and what I would like to do is, I'm thinking that you probably have some questions for Robin. So Robin, meet Joe. Joe, meet Robin. How simple is that?
It's very simple. It's if people would just learn that process and understand that there is a plan. It's a written plan that says, say this, say that, they say that, go. But the important thing is what you said. I thought you might have some questions. Meaning you, the director, saying to them, yes, it's so-and-so, and I thought you might have questions for that person. That puts them right in the position of I'm going to be interviewed. Not here it is, here's Bob, and Bob, go ahead, fire away at Mark, because he's going to answer all your questions. If you do that, you're going to lose the person. I promise you're going to lose them. You're not going to feel like a professional. You're going to feel like a convincer. Trying to convince. Yep. All right.
And understand, we're not talking about the weather. We're not talking about what's going on in Arizona or in North Carolina. This is an interview. And then the other thing is, you want to remember in that once you turn them over to the director, you don't say anything else until that director turns them back over to you. But the thing that you need to understand as a director and as a director in training, and again, I have to go back to the importance of the class. Every statement that you make, you want to keep control of the conversation. How do you do that? For those of you that have taken the class, you remember QAQ? Question, answer, question. That's how you remain in control of the conversation. Other than that, it can be taken away from you. So Joe, You want to take it from there?
Yeah, sure. So what happens is, here's the director now, and if the director knows what he's doing, the introduction happened. I had a upline one time, not long ago, say to me, I'll do it this way, but I'm still going to talk to them about, their family. I said, well, then you're not doing a call for me. This is an upline. No, I'm going to have a conversation. I see what you're doing here, but I'm going to have I said, well, you're not doing my call then. And I've never asked them again, because they want to discuss at that point, after the introduction, they want to discuss how they're doing and where do you live and how's the weather up there. Honestly, Mark, that was the questions. How's the weather up there? Oh yeah, my brother lived up there, or yeah, I know all about that thing.
What
that's about? That is about the person, the so-called director, trying to impress them with what they know. It's called insecurity. It's what they do.
And they don't know it. What they need to know is, Joe, what has Mark said that caused us to get together today? In other words, what do you know about our company? That's the first thing you want to say.
Isn't it amazing that the people don't know that? I would challenge, a lot of these so-called directors that people are going to find out how they start their conversation. And I would bet that 90% of them do not have that question in mind, because again, they're going to, the weather and how's your family and, it's really nice. We have a connection. You're going to love Mark and all this stuff, as opposed to, look, what do you know about our company? Look, we say it nice and professional. The truth is, what we really want to know is, look, what do you know about our company? I need to know what you saw. I need to know this so we can continue. That's really behind it all. That's the thinking part. That's what you're thinking. So you say it nicely, just like Mark said. What is it that Mark said that caused it? In other words, what do you know about our company so far? Then you get to know where they are. If they were like Cindy's person the other day, and they said, well, I really don't know anything, I just scanned through it, I can tell you right now, between Mark and I, we'd be off that call. We would politely excuse ourselves and let them go do their homework, and then we'd get back together again. We can't talk about something you don't know. We're not going to sit here and tell you all about this company when they can go to a video and pieces of information to go find out and then decide if they're really interested. So when the person, that gives that person a chance with that question, what do you know about our company? Gives a chance to tell us what it is they're doing. Then, of course, it goes into some basic questions. What do you do? How long you been doing it? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? And by the way, Cindy did that in the conversation. I was so happy to hear this stuff. If the next 5 years look like the last 5 years, do you see yourself getting ahead or behind? That will tell you, because that person will open up and let you know about their life right there without you asking, how are you doing in your family? And are you happy with your money? If I can show you, all that stuff is eliminated by that one question. Do you see yourself getting ahead or behind? Safford taught me that, Mark, a long time ago. I watched him ask the mayor of Philadelphia that question in an interview that I was fortunate enough to sit in on. Unfortunately, that mayor had a bad run the years before. But that's it. Where do you see yourself? That person opens up and they start to tell you about their life and about and how bad it is and that and so on and so forth. And then a series of questions happens after that.
Yeah, they will spill their guts to you. And guess what? In that, you will find out if you have an interested party, if you have a person that you're going to work with, because they're going to tell you quite a bit, but you still have to be able to control that part of it, because you don't want it to go on too long, because you don't want to be there 15, 20 minutes. So you have to know that series of questions. And that's the thing about, knowing the questions to ask and when to ask and those types of things, which you learn in the communication class. That's why we say it's so important.
The next question that should be coming up, now here's the thinking. The director has to be thinking at this point, okay, they just told me that they see themselves getting behind, because most people say that. The majority of people say, no, because of the economy and this and that, my job, I'm going to get behind if I don't make a change. Well, that's good, because that's what we're looking for. Honest, ambitious. If somebody sees themselves getting behind, then obviously they're on this call because they have some ambition. The next question, thing you should be thinking at this point, because this question is going to come up. What are the two things people need to know? What do you want me to do, and how much are you going to pay me to do it? That's what they're thinking. Whether they say that or not doesn't matter. We have to know that that's what they're thinking. So we're going to deal with it, because we're going to ask them a simple question. And that question has to do with the comp plan. If anybody, Mark, as you know, asks, well, how do you get paid here? The answer is extremely simple. Why in the world would a new person, even a director, go explain the comp plan? I asked an upline of someone else, not our upline, but I asked somebody else in Karatbars recently, last week. What would you say? What do you say when they ask you about the comp plan? You should have heard the answer, Mark. You wouldn't even believe it. I didn't even tell you about this. You wouldn't even believe what they said. They started going through dual systems and all the 7 ways you get paid, and started talking about that. And I went, oh my! I didn't even say a word. I just not my business. I just said, I'm not even going to talk about this. Man. But the truth is, you're going to want to introduce the person to the comp plan like this. Have you ever felt that you were not paid what you were worth? In other words, Bob, have you ever felt that you should have been paid more for your efforts? What do you think they're going to say? That 99% of them all say, oh yeah, I worked harder and I didn't make the money I should have. And again, now the answer, here comes the answer to the comp plan. This should be the answer to everyone. Why would we have videos and all kinds of documents showing how you get paid if you have to have somebody sit there and explain the comp plan? Why don't you go take them to a conference call and let them hear about the comp plan, or to a video that explains it? Lloyd Merrifield explains it perfectly.
Yes, he does.
Why did I do it? And the answer is very simple. Well, Frank, in this company, it's going to be different, because you're going to get paid in direct proportion to the effort you put forth. In other words, if you work hard, you're probably going to make a lot of money. If you don't work at all, you won't make any money. But again, let me repeat, Frank, here's how we work. You're going to be paid in direct proportion to the efforts you put forth. That's the answer to the comp. Why would you sit there on a director call and explain the comp plan? I mean, for the life of me, I don't get that. And yet it's still happening. Not just in Karatbars, in a lot of companies. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yes, it is. It's amazing.
At that stage, we're going to tell the person, we're going to let them know after they've told us, because chances are when you told them about the effort, they're thinking to themselves, I'm going to do it. So you really want to get down to a basic question. Why? Look, you are never in a million years going to know if this person is right and you are right for each other until what? Until you get them down on the field and start playing to see if we really have a match, right? So why do I need any more information from that person? I need to let them know. All right, first of all, I need to ask them after a few of these questions we talked about. With a little training, coaching, but a lot of support. Can you see yourself learning what it takes to be successful here at our company? Did you hear that question? I mean, listen to that. Little training and coaching and a lot of support. That tells them we're going to give them support. Can you see yourself? And they say yes and say, great, then here's what we need to do. Why do we need that? Now it's to move them to the registration. Why do we need them to register? We're not asking them for money. We're just asking them to register a free account with our company. At Karatbars, if we're talking Karatbars. Register. And then we're going to get you all the pieces to the puzzle when you get registered. Why in the world would you take somebody through the company's information if they weren't there yet? Imagine going to an IBM interview and they're giving you all the details of the departments that you're going to be heading up or working in. Imagine that. I mean, think about that for a minute. Why would you do that? So you go and you explain to them that they're going to learn this in training. Well, can you tell me more about that complex? I'd love to do that, Bob. But again, you're going to learn that in training. We'll get to that, but we need to get you registered because it looks like we have a match. You certainly have to tell them. It only looks that way. So at this point, you're going to close this call by saying, look, the only way we're going to know, Bob, if we have a match it's if that we lock arms together for a period of time, work together, come back and look at it after, let's call it 6 weeks, whatever you want to say there, 6 to 8 weeks, to see if we truly have that match. Hey, if we do, we'll continue. If we don't, we're going to shake hands, wish each other well. Does that sound fair to you, Bob? Remember the QAQ Mark just mentioned. You can't just say that and leave it there. They'll ask you something else. We don't want that. What we want is registration and then education. Let them come in and go to the training area and get educated to find out, do we truly have the match? I would guess that 99% of the people that come into any business really don't know on the first day if this is really going to be right for them until they get in and get all the little intricate parts. All those little intricate parts. Once they get them, they may see the light may go off. But if you don't get them on the field, you're never going to know that. And at that point, now that's about a 5-minute conversation without all the dialogue we just had. It's a simple process, steps you walk through. And then the question comes up, Bob, do you have any questions for me? And this is after we've directed them to registration, letting the person who brought them to you say, hey, get them registered, get them into the training, and then call me back. As a matter of fact, after registration, I can congratulate them and, and I'll let you know, you can introduce them to some other people. And certainly that's a thing you need to be doing. Let them know there's more support. We said a lot of support, right? But at this stage, we need to move them to registration. And then we're done our conversation. And now it's just, Bob, do you have any questions for me? Mark, I don't get more than 2 questions that come up.
Neither do I. If you've done it properly, you probably won't get it.
And then they move in the registration, get them over there. Now, we're not going to train them how to go get somebody registered. If you've been in the company for a couple of months and a couple of weeks even, you should know how to register somebody. You know how? Because you registered. You give them your link, you get over, you walk them through it and get it done. Then you call back the director and say, Joe, Bob's on the line again with us, and he's registered with the company. I thought you might want to just welcome him to the company. Hey, great. How you, Bob? Great. I'm glad you do that. And just remember now that, you're going to get a lot of this education as we move forward because Mark's going to give you this, this, and this, and give you your schedule and so on. And one of the first things I want you to do is take a look at our marketing system that we use. Number 2 is I want you to get into a communication class, and you're going to learn how to communicate this business properly. Mark, the biggest problem that people get in, they're afraid to pick up the telephone and talk to people because they don't know what to do. Why in the world should we put them in that position and hope they're going to find their way instead of giving them direction to say, look, get in that class so that they get what you and I just gave them this morning? Anyway, that's what a director should do. I mean, I don't know how much more we can say, Mark, and then let you finish this up, and then I'm going to make this announcement.
Yeah. Again, communication, education, and you have to make them feel that they're going to get the help. You can't just bring them in and just say, okay, go get it. In other words, you told them. Remember what you said, what you heard the director tell them, with a little bit of coaching, training, and we're going to give them a lot of help. So they're going to be holding you to that. And that's what you're going to have to do to make it work. And not just bringing them in and say, okay, go get your family, go get your friends, whatever. No, that does not work. Then you wonder why somebody comes in and 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, they're gone because they didn't get the proper help or they weren't brought in properly. So with that being said, those that have not done this or understand this, you need to get a hold of it. You need to get, if you don't have a marketing system, you need to get one. If you haven't been through the communication class, you need to take the communication class, and you'll be able to do exactly what Joe and I have done here this morning. So I want to encourage you to do that. And that's for your Karatbars business, or believe it or not, any other business that you might have. Because this just isn't for Karatbars, it's for any other business. And we're even talking about brick and mortar business. You never know what's ahead in your life. It may be more than Karatbars. You just never know. But all of this applies, online, offline, brick and mortar, or affiliate program. Doesn't matter. So, Joe, I'll turn that back over to you.
Great. Here's our announcement. Mark and I have been talking. If you can go to YouTube, you can see these conversations that Mark and I have. And next Tuesday, we're going to do a part 2 of this director call. We're going to take you into a little bit more depth. That is going to be the last live Breakfast Club call. Live. Now, we're not stopping the Breakfast Club. Mark is extremely busy in his business right now. Businesses, some of which we work together and we're having great success building a business. And I can tell you what happens to your paycheck when that occurs and that happens to you. We are going to be doing a call every week, and it will be recorded. All you have to do is go to YouTube. We have to adjust. This will be after next Tuesday. And we're going to have a 15-minute conversation where you can go and click on and listen to, just like you do now. We see, sometimes 56. In fact, yesterday, Mark, I noticed one of the calls. I have to go back and listen to see what this was. Close to 400 people. And this was not the July director one. There was something else. And somebody went back and listened to 400 people just listen to this call. Now, I don't even know which one it was yet. I'm going to go back and listen. But you'll be able to go into YouTube, and we'll give you more directions about that next week. And go get the recording and listen to that recording. We'll also send it out. But we are going to spend our time continuing to build because we're getting busy as can be. And we're going to do that and have it available for you. And that way, you don't have to wait and go in and remember and get a notice for live. You can just go to YouTube at any time. The calls will be up on Mondays. It'll start, the new call will always be on a Monday. So anytime, Monday through Friday or at any time, you can go to YouTube, click it on, and there you are, just like you would come here live. We're going to have the conversation and put that call up. So, in fact, it's going to even be better. We're enhancing this, because we're going to have our conversation based on our activity during the week and what's going on. And we'll have some guests on there at times. We're going to have some people having success after coming out of the class. We'll have Cindy and Patricia and other people on this call. So I want you to mark your calendars. Next week, if I were you, I'd get to this director call. It's a live one. Of course, that'll be up and running too, but that'll be the last live one. If you want to make some comments and say hello and so on, you'll be able to do that. But I'm excited about that, Mark, because you and I can now record this call during the week, which is what we're going to do. And by Monday, you'll see we'll probably record it on a Thursday. And on Monday, in fact, that day, it'll really be up. But you'll be able to come in and start the week fresh on a Monday morning, not even Tuesday, and do it at your own convenience. And come in and listen to that call. We're going to do a lot of educational, instructional stuff here, and give you some testimonials as to what's going on in people's businesses. So, with that, thanks for being here today. Mark, congratulations on your success that you're having. And I'm really excited about working together further and further with various things that we're doing. And we are extremely happy. We're getting people who are understanding this business now. And no matter what business they're in, that doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. All this information is the same no matter where you go. And I'm excited about, teaching this information so people can be successful regardless of the company they choose. And we will be talking. We're not going to be recruiting to any companies during these calls. That's not what it's for. It's to help you and send your people to get the right education. Without this, without understanding the director call, in my opinion, don't make any calls. Don't even do it. You won't get anywhere. You'll have nothing but, in carrot bars, nothing but blue dots, mostly. So with that, Mark, you want to say a few words? I'll say goodbye to everyone for today. We will see you next Tuesday at the Breakfast Club at 12 noon Eastern. And we'll look forward to that last live call. And then we'll be on to really being able to compact this information in 15 to 20 minutes each week in a call. I'm excited about that. So have a great day, everybody. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, and another thing, what's good about that as well, Joe, is the fact that now if you've listened to a call and you really like that call, then you can get on the phone with someone else, one of your partners or whatever, and say, you need to hear today's breakfast call or this date or whatever. You need to go and listen to that. And that way you'll be able to direct them to that at any time. Because a lot of people that are real busy doing things or whatever, they don't necessarily have the time or maybe even want to take the time at the time that we were doing it at noon, but they do want to hear it. Because I used to get an email almost every day from some people, as a call, recorded or whatever like that. I wasn't able to make it. I had to work, blah, 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 blah. So this will be able to benefit everybody so that you can do it at your own leisure, but it'll be there each time. So with that being said, peace and blessings to you. Go out and make it a great day. Make it a great week. Remember, next week will be the last live call, and then we'll just move on with recorded ones from there. But you'll get a lot of content. You get a lot of things to help you in your business, and not just Carrot Bars business, but any other business that you might have or now or acquire in the future. The things will be able to help you there. So peace and blessing, everyone. Make it a great day. This is Mark Stevenson, our host, Joe Shoup, saying go out, make it a great day. Share your education, share your communication, share what you have with your partners and your new partners that are coming in the future. Peace and blessings, everyone. Make it a great day.